caldo. È un mondo. Taverniere, un bicchier di vin caldo. Io dunque avrò vissuto tant'anni, audace destro.
evening and welcome to the January 9th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. My name is Tiffany Edwards. I'm the chair of the Eugene Planning Commission, and to begin this evening, I'd like to call on Commissioner Beeson to share the city's land acknowledgement statement. Commissioner Beeson.
Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. This land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and to honor the native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government, forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as Kalapuya Ilahi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon, the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. Therefore, the Planning Commission recognizes that what we do today will affect the many generations who will come after us.
Thank you, Commissioner Beeson, and thanks to everyone joining us today in this virtual meeting format. Tonight, we're going to be holding a public hearing on a site-specific set of land use applications amending the land use diagram in the Metro Plan and the Willow Creek Special Area Study, as well as changing the zoning of the property. The three concurrent applications are necessary to facilitate the applicant's desired zone change, changing the base zone from E1 campus employment to E2 mixed use employment. More information for the application will be provided in the staff presentation. Given that this is the only agenda item tonight, we anticipate moving on to deliberations and may potentially make a recommendation this evening after the hearing. Anyone wishing to access and participate in the public hearing can do so by following the access instructions listed on the agenda for this meeting. The Planning Commission meetings can also be viewed by watching the live stream available on our website and the broadcast channel Comcast Channel 21. If you wish to speak and provide testimony tonight, please know that we will begin the testimony portion of tonight's meeting after a brief presentation from staff. When we reach that point, staff will provide instructions about the virtual hearing format and how to participate. Before we start, I want to let you know a little bit about the Planning Commission and our role in the process. First, we are unpaid volunteers appointed by the Eugene City Council who all live and work in Eugene like many of you. For this set of land use applications, we are not the decision makers. Rather, we will be reviewing the proposal, testimony, and other relevant materials and make a recommendation to the Eugene City Council. The City Council will hold their own public hearing before making the final decision on the proposal. We are at-large members, which means we have to consider the needs of the community as a whole, as well as the needs of all groups and neighborhoods. We're also human, which means that each one of us has personal views that make us who we are. But as planning commissioners, we are committed to balancing all of our needs as a community and to making the best recommendations that we possibly can based on our policies and our laws for us and for future generations. This can be pretty tough to do, and we know not everybody will agree with every recommendation we make. So as we proceed this evening, we want you to know up front that we are listening and that we care deeply about you and about our community. We recognize how important these changes are and encourage everyone speaking tonight to do so in a respectful and productive way. That said, given the topic of tonight's hearing, some of the terms we have used are legalistic, so I'll try to explain the requirements in plain language as best I can, since this is a hearing for a site-specific application there are unique procedures which we are legally required to follow. The decision-making process for this application is considered quasi-judicial, so we will use a quasi-judicial format for this public hearing. So before we begin, the Eugene Code also requires that the planning commissioners disclose any conflicts of interest, ex parte contacts, biases, or abstentions. In a quasi-judicial proceeding, the parties are entitled to an impartial or neutral decision maker. To ensure this fair consideration, the Eugene Code and the Planning Commission rules attempt to limit ex parte contacts or communications between a party and the decision maker outside of the public hearing process. Each planning commissioner must disclose and describe the substance of any communication they've had about this application outside of the public process. The planning commissioners must also disclose any conflicts of interest, that is, whether the decision they are about to make could or would result in a personal financial gain or loss for themselves, their relatives, or a business with which the commissioner or the commissioner's relative is associated. Finally, a planning commissioner cannot participate if they are biased, that is, for whatever reason, that they are incapable of making an objective decision on these applications. Do any of the commissioners have anything to disclose? I'm not seeing any hands. I'm having to switch screens here, so I apologize. Oh, Commissioner Bailing, I see your hand.
I just want to say I exchanged a couple of emails with Jeff with regard to questions that I had and access to documents and things of that sort. And that was all before the hearing.
Okay, great. And I think staff is exempt from the ex parte. Thanks, Lauren. I see Lauren popping up, but yes, staff communications are allowed. All right. Does anyone hold on here. Can't read here we go. Does anyone in the audience or a member of the commission wish to challenge the impartiality of any of the planning commissioners? I don't see any hands. All right, so I would now at this point like to invite our moderator, Crystal, to provide some information for tonight's hearing. So
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I am Crystal Fisher, and I will be moderating tonight's meeting. I'm going to cover a few items before we begin the regular proceedings. Firstly, I want to thank everyone for joining us in this virtual hearing and note that tonight's hearing is being recorded. Since we're meeting virtually and this is a quasi-judicial hearing, I will provide specific instructions on how to request to speak before we begin the public testimony section after the staff's brief presentation on tonight's topic. With that, it's great to have everyone here tonight, and I'll hand it back to the chair.
You're muted, Commissioner Edwards.
Sorry about that. All right, thank you, Crystal. And as she said, we'll begin with a brief presentation from Jeff and then move on to opening the public hearing. So I'm going to call on Jeff.
Okay, I almost did the exact same thing and didn't unmute myself. Good evening, planning commissioners. Jeff Gepper, senior planner with the planning division, here to talk about the Pitchford Metro Plan Amendment, Refinement Plan Amendment, and Zone Change. So it's a package of 3 applications. Let's see if I can get this to move forward for me. One thing I'll just say about this package of applications. Really what the applicant is looking to do is to change the base zone, but in order to achieve that, they needed to get consistency with our higher level policy documents. So what that kind of looks like in terms of, and this is, for the Planning Commission as well as anybody watching today, we really have kind of a hierarchy of how all these things operate together. So we really start with the Metro Plan. That's, a version of our comprehensive plan. And it has in it policies as well as a land use diagram that kind of shows the future land use scenarios for the city. And then the Metro Plan is actually further refined throughout the various places in the city through our refinement plans. In this case, it's the Willow Creek Special Areas Study. And what those do is they really kind of drill down into more of the unique characteristics of our specific areas and kind of hone the map a little bit. And then all of that is finally distilled into our zoning, which really operates with a series of base zones, overlay zones, things of that nature that implement the policies and goals and uses that are kind of laid out in both the metro plan and our refinement plans. I will just quickly note today that we are talking about only changing the base zone for the property. I'll talk about that more, but we're not impacting. There is an overlay zone on the property, but that's proposed for staying where it is. So the metro plan proposed for this evening is to go from campus industrial to light medium industrial on the subject property, which I'll show you a map of here shortly. Similarly, the requested change would also change the refinement plan, the Willow Creek area study, from special light industrial to light medium industrial. And as I mentioned, both of those requested changes to those high level documents are so that they can facilitate a base zone change from E1 campus employment to E2 mixed use employment. And the reason why these things are required is because E2 is implemented through our light medium land use designation. So in order to be consistent between all those documents, they have to kind of go through this higher level process. So just to give you a sense of where we are in town, we've got West 11th here. We've got the Lane Memorial Garden Cemetery over here. This is the Walmart and the former racetrack. And we are looking over by Thermo Fisher in this area. We've got a piece of property over here, which you can see a little bit more closely here. It's an undeveloped portion of land currently occupied by some trees and along the improved portion of Pitchford Avenue, which comes right off of Willow Creek, which connects both to kind of West 11th and 18th Avenue to the south. So in terms of zoning, the area is in a pretty big mix of zones. So as you can see, immediately to the east, we're looking at a mixture of C2, E2, I2. These are all a mixture of commercial and industrial zones. We have R1 directly to the north, and then we have E1 campus employment across the street on Pitchford Ave. That's partially developed. And so you can tell this is, generally speaking, on the edge of where a lot of the properties are developed in this part of town. And the applicant has requested this change just to increase the number of uses allowed on the property, as going from E1 to E2 does allow a number of additional uses, which I laid out that table in the staff report that kind of showed exactly what those changes looked like. So when we go through a metro plan amendment, refinement plan, and zone change, we are looking specifically at a set of approval criteria, and the staff report in attachment D findings kind of goes through each one of those in great detail. But generally speaking, when we're evaluating the approval criteria for the metro plan amendment, we are looking for consistency with the statewide planning goals. We're looking for consistency within the metro plan. So essentially it's not making the metro plan somehow inconsistent. And then it's also consistent with the comprehensive plan. And you can see by the check boxes that in staff's review and recommendation in the staff report, we did find that they were consistent with those three approval criteria. Similarly, refinement plan amendments also require consistency with the statewide planning goals, consistency with the comprehensive plan, and consistency with the remaining portions of the refinement plan. And then also it requires that this change is addressing an amendment in the policy. And so we did identify that it checked all of those boxes. And then finally, looking at the zone change criteria, it's consistent with the metro plan, and that is a yes if amended through this process, right? So that's where I said earlier, a lot of the zone change really required the amendments to these, the metro plan and the refinement plan, to kind of bring them to be able to say yes to these first two criteria. So it is consistent with the metro plan as amended through these applications. Similarly, it would be consistent with the refinement plan, the Willow Creek Special Area Study, if amended. It satisfies the transportation planning rule. Essentially what that is it's looking at the potential transportation impacts that would come from changing from one set of uses to another. And actually those findings were dealt with under the goal 12, which is the transportation goal in the findings. And then is it served by key urban facilities as defined in the metro plan? Yes, it is. And does it meet the siting requirements? Yes, it does. So, and I much more details provided in the findings for demonstrating all of these criteria are met for all three applications. And based on review of all that, our conclusion is that the proposal does comply with the applicable approval criteria for each application, and it would be staff's recommendation, as outlined in the staff report, that the Planning Commission deliberate following the public hearing and issue a recommendation for the City Council's approval of this Metro Plan Amendment, Refinement Plan Amendment, and zone change. So with that, I will conclude my presentation. Thank you, everybody.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the unmute button. Thanks, Jeff. Before we do open the public hearing, I just have a few more details to share. Hang on here. Regarding the order of operations. So we'll begin the public hearing with testimony from the applicant, and then testimony will be received in the order that people have requested to speak. Then following public testimony, city staff will have the opportunity to respond to the testimony provided and answer any questions that might come up. And then finally, the applicant will be given the opportunity for a final rebuttal. I know commissioners have asked for more clarity on when it's appropriate to ask questions, and staff has suggested that if you do have questions about someone's testimony, you should ask the questions following that individual's testimony. Following the conclusion of the public testimony, staff will have a chance to respond to the public testimony presented, and commissioners will have the opportunity to ask additional questions from staff. I'll remind everyone that failure to raise an issue with sufficient specificity to allow the Planning Commission and parties to respond will preclude future appeals on that issue. In other words, please raise issues as clearly as you can so that the city and other parties can address them. And just as a reminder, the Planning Commission will not make a final decision on this application. We will be making a recommendation to City Council, who will hold their own public hearing before making a final decision. As always, feel free to contact staff if there's testimony that you are not able to provide in this hearing or testimony that you wish to provide to the Planning Commission in writing. Before I open the public hearing, Crystal has some further instructions for us to provide for providing testimony. So I will call on Crystal.
Thanks, Commissioner Edwards. Hi again, everyone. So now it's time to sign up to speak if you wish to provide testimony tonight. You can get in the queue by raising your virtual hand. To do this, click the raise hand button in the menu if you're joining from a computer or smart device. If you're joining us by phone, you must dial *9 and you will receive audio confirmation that your hand has been raised. You may start raising your hands now as I continue to provide instructions. Traditionally, for these proceedings, once the public hearing is opened, speakers were called in the following order. First, those in support, including the applicant, then those with a neutral position, and third, those who oppose. However, due to the limitations of the virtual hearing platform, we have had to make some adjustments. So at the start of your testimony, please clearly state your name, your address, and whether you're in support, in opposition, or neutral to the proposal. I will announce whose turn it is to provide public testimony, as well as announce who is up next. When you are called to provide testimony, you will be promoted to a Zoom panelist, which will allow you to unmute and turn on your video if you so choose. Please do not unmute or turn your video on until it is your turn for public testimony. When the public testimony is concluded, you'll be returned to the Zoom attendee status. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes, and when your allotted time for public testimony is concluded, you will be muted. So please be mindful of your time. If any technical difficulties are encountered, we will move on to the next person in the queue and try again after that person's comment. All that said, I will once again hand it back to the chair.
Okay, thank you, Crystal. And so now I'd like to open the public hearing. The purpose of the hearing is to receive relevant testimony on the applications before us. I want to remind everyone that your testimony should be directed towards the approval criteria that you believe apply to these applications. We ask that you frame your testimony in terms of the application approval criteria because the Eugene Code requires that our recommendations be based on those criteria. The applicable approval criteria for the proposed amendments and zone changes are from Eugene Code sections 9.7735, 9.8424, and 9.8865. These criteria are listed and addressed in the Planning Commission packet for this evening. And so, Crystal, how many speakers do we have in the queue?
We have one.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, I'm just reading. I apologize, folks. So we're encouraging people to submit any written testimony as well. Written testimony may be submitted via email, by mail, or in person. More detailed instructions on how to submit written testimony are included in the material for this meeting and are available on the application notices. We will now begin public testimony, beginning with the applicant. And Crystal, I will hand it off to you to go ahead and begin.
Perfect. Thank you. Again, I want to remind anyone to raise their virtual hand if you would like to speak tonight. Also, at the start of your testimony, please begin by clearly stating your name, address, and whether you're in support, in opposition, or neutral to the proposal. With that said, we'll begin testimony from the applicant, a representative from Metro Planning. And you are a Zoom panelist, so go ahead and start when you're ready.
Okay. On behalf of the applicant, Metro Planning's address is 846 A Street, Springfield. That was a fantastic staff report and presentation. I don't really have a lot to add to that. I will say in summary that really we're trying to get to a new zoning district, as Jeff said. This zoning district is consistent with the zoning to the west. It allows a broader range of uses as shown in staff's attachment C, while still maintaining an industrial land base to support future industrial growth and a variety of economic activities. So really it's, in our opinion, it allows for a different set of uses, more uses, and it still remains consistent with the area and consistent with the goals of the city of Eugene. With that, I'm here to answer questions if the Planning Commission has any questions.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking time this evening to share your testimony with us. Does anyone have comments in response at this time? All right, I'm gonna see if does staff have any comments? Jeff, do you have anything?
No, I don't have any comments at this time. I'm happy to, if there's any questions about the testimony provided, I can answer questions regarding that. Otherwise, I can answer more questions during the deliberations process as well.
Okay, I will ask commissioners to raise your hand or virtual hand if you have any questions at this point. Okay. I see no hands raised, so let's see, kind of all right, now I would allow, I guess there really isn't a need for a rebuttal or a final statement presentation, so I think, Lauren, unless I'm missing something, I think we...
So I'll thanks, Chair Edwards. I'll just say that Kim, if you have anything that you'd like to say in your final statement, that's absolutely fine. If you'd like to waive that, just please let us know. I'm not hearing anything.
Hold on, we're trying to find the unmute button. It's problematic some days. So I waived my final rebuttal. I've got nothing more to say. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Kim. And I'm glad I'm not the only one. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. And the Planning Commission public hearing and the record are closed. Would there be any reason to hold the public record open? I'm sorry, I apologize, you all, because I'm reading something. And
Commissioner Edwards, and I'll let Jeff confirm this. As far as I'm aware, there have been no requests to hold the record open. So in that case, the Planning Commission can close the record at the close of the public hearing. And it sounds like you did, unless any other planning commissioners have an objection.
All right, so I closed the public hearing and the record. So that's done. All right, I guess that at this point we'll just check with staff on any other additional, and if otherwise we can begin deliberations on the proposal.
Sounds good. Sounds like we can move right to our deliberations.
Okay. Moving right along. Well, I guess I would, there were no questions. Does anybody have any comments or this never happened before for me, so I'm not quite sure.
Commissioner Lear has his hand up.
Yeah, I'll say Commissioner Lear raised his hand. So we've got
Okay,
our-
Commissioner Lear, I'm sorry, I can't see your hand because my script is blocking it. There you go. Commissioner Lear, go ahead.
I'm recovering from probably COVID. It seems like I'm not the only one here. Just kind of had a general question about this. Whether there was any consideration or ought to be consideration of eliminating the E1 zoning classification, or whether that might be on the docket in the future.
That's a great question. As far as I'm aware, it's not really on our work plan to be tackling that issue. And you've seen a number of applications related to switching away from the E1 zone. And that's absolutely, we have the Metro Plan amendment and zone change process for when people want to do that. So they can keep applying for this change until we make a programmatic shift otherwise, but we haven't received direction to make that shift, to my knowledge. And Alyssa can add anything if she needs to.
I will say that covers it, but I would want to note that as part of our urban growth strategies project, we will be looking at, do we need to accommodate more jobs? How might we be able to do this? You're not the first person who has brought up E1, and obviously there's a fair amount in comparison to some other lands of vacant E1. So it is something I think that we will be looking at the zone itself, whether or not it's, making changes to that specific zone or getting rid of it altogether. I don't know, but I think it is something that we will probably look at as part of our implement plans.
Thank you.
So stay tuned.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, if anyone is comfortable making a motion, I didn't see one in the packet, Lauren, so am I correct in that there wasn't a potential?
I did send one an email earlier today. Otherwise, I'm happy to put one on the screen if that's helpful for anybody, just to put a simple motion.
Commissioner Edwards, I see that Commissioner Isaacson has his hand up.
I do see it. It's hard to see those, you guys. Your backgrounds are very blendy. Okay. Commissioner Isaacson, I'll call on you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just open to making that motion whenever city staff has it available. I'm happy to do that.
1 second.
Okay. The suspense.
Got it. Okay. There.
With the chair's acknowledgement, I move to recommend that the City Council approve the applicant's proposed Metro Plan Amendment, Refinement Plan Amendment, and zone change.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Isaacson and Commissioner Lear. Was that your second?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? All right. With that, then I will call the vote. All of those. Oh, now I see Commissioner Bailing. I'm sorry. I see you now. Your hand's raised.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Does anyone else? Oh, that's my mouse. My mouse. It's a hand. I'm so sorry, you guys. All right. Gonna call the vote. All of those in favor, please raise your hand.
Actual hand.
Your actual hand, it's helpful. Okay, any opposed? And is there any abstentions? Okay, Commissioner Bailing, I see your abstention. Okay. So the motion passes.
Great.
All right. Okay, hold on. I'm going back to my script here. There's a lot happening in the script, so. Okay, well, I don't see any other business of the public hearings. So, oh, Alyssa has her hand up. Thank you.
After you close the public hearing, I will, after you close out this part, Jeff and I do want to give an update on something else.
Okay, well, I closed the public hearing and I think we're ready to move on then.
Okay, I think as you all know that the mental housing code amendments were remanded, and next week is the public hearing on Tuesday night at 5:30 before council. There is a work session tomorrow with council at noon. And Jeff, if you wanted to provide just a little bit more background, just I know that you've all been tracking that and been very interested in it. So I think, if you have a chance to watch the work session tomorrow, that would be great. But if Jeff, if you could just give a brief update, that would be outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. So tomorrow at noon, we're going to bring to City Council, kind of refresh them on some of the history of the Middle Housing Code amendments and the fact that, the remand, LUBA affirmed our decision originally. It went to the Court of Appeals after it was appealed, and then they essentially said that we were okay, except for demonstrating consistency with Goal 11, which is public facilities and services. And the Oregon Court of Appeals sent it back to LUBA. LUBA sent it back to us to essentially adopt a new set of findings or otherwise to address consistency with Goal 11. So Lauren's going to detail kind of how that consistency is addressed in the proposed adoption, but otherwise, what we've brought to the council is really pretty much exactly what was adopted, a year and a half ago, except for whatever code has changed in between then, and just for a few minor tweaks for Scrivener's errors and consistency with state law language. So, but we do have some fun information on the number of middle housing units that have been approved since the middle housing adoption. So there's a reason to watch once I pull those final numbers together. So it's fun news. We've seen a lot more happening since that law is passed.
Okay, well, I will be watching, but just because I'm in such suspense now that I want to know. Okay, well, thank you. Is there any other business or any updates that the members of the commission have? If not, I will gladly give you back the rest of your evening, and I will adjourn the meeting of the Planning Commission. So thank you all. Thanks for bearing with me.
Thank you.
A lot of talking on cold medicine, so thank you. All right, good night, everybody.